Verbals Part 3, Infinitives. What is an infinitive? An infinitive is a verb form that usually begins with the word to. That's to. It can be used as a noun, an adjective, or an adverb. Let's look at a few examples. To walk the straight and narrow is a hard road for some folks. The best person to help is the teacher. Slow to follow, the scared child walked behind his mother into the doctor's office. So basically, an infinitive is found by looking for to, plus a verb. If you will notice, I've underlined the infinitives in the sentences on this page. To walk, to help, to follow. Now in the future, in just a few more slides, I will explain to you how you can tell if the infinitive is being used as a noun, an adjective, or an adverb. What is an infinitive phrase? An infinitive phrase contains an infinitive and any modifiers and its complements. How do I find the infinitive phrase? You are in luck. Remember what I told you about gerund phrases? Well, infinitive phrases follow the same pattern. Let's review that information. If the infinitive phrase is at the beginning of the sentence, start underlining with the infinitive and stop before the main verb or at the comma. Let's look at an example. To cook for Donald Trump is a goal of the chefs. Remember, I have to find the infinitive first. That's to plus a verb. Okay, to cook. I want to start with the infinitive and I want to underline until I get to the main verb. I see no comma, so I need to stop at the main verb. So, to cook for Donald Trump would be the infinitive phrase. I will stop before I get to is. Is the main verb of this sentence. If the infinitive phrase is in the middle or at the back of the sentence, same thing, start with the infinitive. This time, underline all the way to the back of the sentence until you get to the period. Let's look at an example. She was happy to share her lunch with the small child. Okay, first, I've got to find the infinitive, right? So go in and look for to plus a verb. I see to share. It's in the middle, so my rule says I'm going to go all the way to the back and stop at the period. So, to share her lunch with the small child becomes the infinitive phrase, and I do go all the way to the back with the underlining and I stop at the period. See? It's that easy. Now, what did you say about infinitives being used as a noun, an adjective, or an adverb? Yes, infinitives can be used as one of these in a sentence. Watch the following videos to understand their placement. Remember when I told you that infinitives could be used as a noun, an adjective, or an adverb? Well, that is true. In order to determine how the infinitive is being used, it's important to know its placement. Also, remember with gerunds, I told you they were used as nouns and that there were 4 nouns that the gerund could be: the subject, the predicate nominative, the direct object, or the object of the preposition. Well, the same is true for infinitives, except they will not be the object of the preposition. They will take the position of the subject, the predicate nominative, or the direct object. So let's take a look at an example so that we can determine how this infinitive is being used. Let's look at our first example and see how this infinitive is being used. Let's read the sentence. To walk the straight and narrow is a hard road for some folks. Okay, the first thing I need to do is find the infinitive. That's to plus the verb. I see to walk. Let's go ahead and underline to walk. While we're here, let's just go ahead and find the infinitive phrase. Remember, the infinitive is sitting at the front, so my rule is I will underline until I get to the main verb. Where is the main verb? Little bitty word. Do you see it? Right. Is. So we're going to underline to walk the straight and narrow. That becomes our infinitive phrase. Now the next part is we need to determine how this infinitive is being used. Remember, infinitives can be one of three things. They can be the subject, the predicate nominative, or the direct object. Well, if you go back and look at my little schematic about how sentences are traditionally set up, the subject sits at the very front, usually. Let's look at our sentence. To walk the straight and narrow, our infinitive phrase is sitting at the very beginning of the sentence. So, therefore, it must be the subject of the sentence. Let's look at the next sentence. I had hoped to walk the straight and narrow. Okay, first step, I need to find the infinitive. That's to plus a verb. I see to walk. Looks good to me. Let's underline it. To walk. Now let's go ahead and find the infinitive phrase. I start with the infinitive, and remember, if it's in the middle towards the back, I'm going to underline all the way to the period. So underline to walk the straight and narrow. Excellent. We've got that out of the way. Now the next portion is I need to determine how this infinitive is being used. What do? Look directly in front of the infinitive. I see the word hoped, had, and of course I. Well, I think it's pretty easy to understand that I is the subject, so therefore I need a verb. That's got to be had hoped is my verb phrase. So had hoped sits in front of to walk. Well, remember, with my little diagram, I ask myself the what question after the verb. I had hoped what? To walk the straight and narrow. It does answer the what question. Now go back and look at the verb. Is the verb an action verb or a linking verb? Well, all of us can hope, right? Gosh, I hope so. Ha ha ha. No pun intended. It's an action verb. What follows an action verb? Look at the schematic again. A direct object. So you have just found an infinitive phrase that is acting as a direct object. Next is the third sentence. Let's read it. My plan was to walk the straight and narrow. Looks a little familiar, don't you think? But there is a difference. Okay, let's attack this as usual. First, I need to find the infinitive. That's to plus a verb. Okay, this is easy. To walk. Now, of course, I need to find the infinitive phrase. It's in the middle towards the back, so that means I need to underline everything to the back to the period. So that would be to walk the straight and narrow. Okay, so what's the difference, Miss Burleson, between this one and the one before? Okay, good question. Remember, look at the word directly in front of the infinitive. Was. Also, you have my plan before that. Plan is the subject of the sentence. What does that make was? It's the verb. Now that we know that it's the verb, ask yourself this. The verb in front of the infinitive, is it action or is it linking? In other words, can you show me was? No, of course not. You can't. So therefore was, like am and is, they are linking verbs. So was is linking. Now, according to our diagram, if I have a linking verb and I can answer the what question after it, my plan was what? To walk the straight and narrow. If I can answer that what question, I have just found a predicate nominative. And that's exactly what we have just done. To walk the straight and narrow in this example is a predicate nominative. Now that we are finished with nouns, there are two last ways that an infinitive can be used, as an adjective or as an adverb. Let's read this sentence and discover how it's being used. The best person to help is the teacher. Okay, first step, I need to find the infinitive. That's to plus the verb. I see to help. Let's go ahead and underline the infinitive to help. Whoa, wait a minute. I don't have a big long phrase like I did on the other sentences, do I? Because of what one little word? The word is. Remember in our original directions, once you come upon the main verb, you stop the infinitive phrase. So in this particular example, all I need is to help. Do not go past the main verb. Okay, now I need to determine how the infinitive to help is being used. Okay, remember, look at the word directly in front of the infinitive. That would be person. So now what we need to do is ask ourselves, what part of speech is person? Is it a conjunction? Is it an adverb? Is it the verb of the sentence? What is it? Well, if you also take another look at it, you will see that it is the subject of the sentence. Person. It must be a noun. So therefore, I'm going to write noun above it. And if person is a noun, look at your infinitive and ask yourself this simple question. What modifies nouns? And the answer is adjectives modify nouns. So the infinitive to help is being used as an adjective inside the sentence. This is our last sentence, so let's read it and get this wrapped up. The scared child seemed afraid to walk into the doctor's office. The first thing I do is find the infinitive, to plus a verb. I see to walk. Let's go ahead and underline to walk. Now I need to find the infinitive phrase. It's towards the back, the infinitive is, so let's go ahead and underline all the way to the period. To walk into the doctor's office. Yes, you have found the infinitive phrase. Now remember our protocol. Look at the word directly in front of the infinitive. Afraid. Okay. Child must be the subject. Seemed is the verb, ends in ed. Afraid. Now ask yourself this, what part of speech is afraid? Is it a noun? Is it a pronoun? Is it a conjunction? What does it do for the reader inside the sentence? Doesn't it describe the child? So the part of speech for afraid would be adjective. Let's write adjective above it. By the way, I'll give you bonus points if you can tell me what scared is in this sentence. Okay? But let's go back to the infinitive. To walk. Afraid is an adjective, so now I'm down to basic grammar again. What modifies an adjective? I'll give you another hint. It will also modify verbs and other adverbs. Have any ideas? You are correct. To walk into the doctor's office is being used as an adverb. Adverbs modify adjectives. By the way, did you figure out what scared was? If you said a participle, you are correct. Congratulations. If you need further help, please refer to page 153 of your English workshop.